Welcome back, everybody, to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise as the World Series has concluded and we unfortunately did not take the crown this year. Before we move on officially into the offseason, I want to recap just a little bit. Jack Sawinski and his incredible journey in the postseason to launch us into a World Series challenge was unbelievable. The stuff of legends. I put the stats up on the screen last time. He tied within the top 5 for RBIs in the postseason. He was just simply put incredible and inspirational. Really could not have done it without Jack Sawinski. And there are other positives that we also can definitely be happy about. Emmanuel Rodriguez, I will not count because he only had 2 at-bats hitting 500. But as far as averages, it is still Sawinski as the leader. Behind him, Brian Reynolds, and then Harry Ford. Now, Ford also had limited at-bats, so I won't count him either. So let's move on to the pitchers, where Paul Skeens was our highest innings pitched pitcher. We used him for 38 to a tune of a 1.89 ERA. He was also phenomenal with a 0.63 whip. David Bednar was the top performing pitcher technically. Now, he also only went 4 innings. Clevenger went 6 1/3, which is great. No scored against him. And then Hunter Harvey was our real workhorse as far as relievers. 10 innings pitched with no ERA. All 3 of these relievers, no innings, or rather, no earned runs against them. We finally get to an earned run with Dennis Santana over 5 2/3, and that's about it for the relievers. But those top 4 are pretty strong. Now, on the bottom side, it is also relievers, though. Carmen Mlodzinski, Carson Fulmer, and then ultimately Colin Holderman. But the big drop-off there is from Fulmer to Holderman, where Mlodzinski and Fulmer were in the 9s, and Holderman had a little bit of trouble, a 4.32 ERA, but he did the job that we needed to. Zach Littell was the worst official starting pitcher with an ERA of 4, right on the dot with 18 innings pitched, but he had a really weird postseason for us, so I don't really truly hold it against him. Shane Baz did get 22 1/3 innings pitched with a 3.22 ERA, so as far as our starters go, all of them were actually really good. We also had our first base coach now end his contract, so we will need to take a look at coaches. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got Edgar Silva as the manager, giving pluses to a few important categories. And I want to review the rest of the coaches while we're here as well. And that is not what I remember setting up initially. So I don't know if these change over time, but yeah. Hayden Minuta, Oscar Marin, these are all negatives now. Missing the first base coach because he retired. Steven Davis now has 2 negative categories. And finally, the farm director, Sal Larson, is just a negative in bunting, and I'm okay with that, really. So we've got to hire practically an entire new coaching staff, and that's going to be a little bit annoying, but I'm going to pick some guys out here real quick. Giovanni Branch adds positives to power, plate vision, 1 negative on his line, but it's not bad. Pedro Ruiz, pluses across the board, +2 to hits per 9. And then Napoleon Odell has got a +2 to durability, but blocking, fielding, and speed, I really like those ones as well. Chris Fetter is another one with +2 to blocking and durability, +1 speed, and -1 arm strength. But I need to get some better coaches, and these guys do look better. I want to recap on some of the guys that did not get much of a highlight. Josh Palacios got a bunch of increases. Emmanuel Rodriguez has seen increases across the board, +6 to discipline, notably. We are going to go quick here. Evan Carter, who will be back at the start of the season, still got increases up to a 75 overall. Then we move to Jack Sawinski. Pluses everywhere, and I really am excited to see if he can continue in year 3 with the amount of success that he had. Harry Ford did not get much play, but he is increasing almost across the board. There's a couple categories just against lefties, and then a little bit on the speed side of things. Andy Rodriguez as a backup catcher is seeing positives across the board as well. And at only 26 years old, he's got plenty of time. Jared Triolo had a lot of really good increases, actually. Contact both got +6 and then a +8 to power lefty. So Triolo's looking really good. Nick Gonzalez also some really good increases. +3 to vision, +5 to discipline, +4 to power lefties. Plenty to like there. And then Steve Seidlinker, who had his potential get increased, is now a 78 overall, and he could be ready for the show right away. Thomas Harrington on the pitching side of things is up to a 70, seeing some good increases, but not across every category. So we'll have to check in on him as well. Then we move to Bubba Chandler, the guy that was supposed to start earlier for us, but ended up running into trouble down in the minor leagues. Still seeing increases, but hopefully we see him soon. Max Meyer, we made a trade for, and he's seeing some really good increases, +7 to K per 9, +4 to hits per 9, and then 3s on a couple categories as well. Carson Fulmer at 33 is still increasing. I don't know how much more he's going to be useful or how long he's going to be useful, but so far he's doing fine. Dowry Moretta, on the other hand, is seeing negatives on almost every category, only the walks getting better. Spencer Horwitz is also seeing negatives across nearly every category, getting a little better against contact, lefties, power, right. But at 29 years old and a near 78 overall, he's not got much more room to grow. Luis Ariz is also seeing mostly increases, notably to the power. Like I've mentioned, we've been training that, but the contact is starting to go down. Now, one thing we're going to have to look at here is how we decide what's going to happen at first base, because Spencer Horwitz, like we just noted, is not going to get better than this point, I don't believe. Luis Ariz has been a disappointment, but he's been serviceable. And I'm also going to choose now to do a big-time offer to Jack Sawinski. He was so good that I feel we absolutely have to do this. And I'm going to shoot a 4-year deal across the table at him for $49 million, which is higher than his contract that he's looking for, to see if we can lock him in for a longer period of time. He's still got plenty to go. He's not even 30 yet. Now looking at free agents that are available here for the very first time, going into year 3, the top 150 free agents, half of them are starting pitchers. We've got Chisholm. We've got Brian Abreu, though, as a reliever. He's 29 years old, 83 overall, some good increases in some important categories. Clutch is high, a really good track record, really. But coming off of a down year, he might be a little cheaper. Drew Rasmussen, Sorry, that was my cat who was begging for attention. Anyways, Rasmussen as a reliever, I've definitely got some interest in. He's a B potential, 82 overall, 31 years old, still getting good increases and putting together really another excellent campaign. Jock Peterson as a left fielder, I'm looking at as a possible DH. With his discipline and clutch and extreme power against righties, a lefty bat DH to me sounds very, very appealing. Dalton Varsho is another one, a center fielder who is excellent out in the field, but could possibly play for us as well. But for now, it's going to be Abreu, Rasmussen, and Peterson. Our budget will not allow the signings of all 3 of them, so it will be 2 out of 3, if any. But I'd like to strengthen the bullpen and go after a DH. And after 1 week, this is their interest level. Abreu the least interested, but Rasmussen and Peterson at 66. I think I'm going to wait to do an offer, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, the Royals will sign Jazz Chisholm for $178 million for 7 years. The Giants will then pick up Skubal for $353 million. Wow, $44 million a year for 8 years. Wild. And the Angels sign Nico Horner, and that's familiar territory, as Panther and I in our Two Idiots franchise have done that as well, so that's pretty funny. He's averaging 289. Wow. All right, another week of updates here, and Abreu's got up to 67, Rasmussen 76, Peterson at 72. I will go ahead and make the first offer, as other teams are looking at Brian Abreu. 3 years, $9 million. And I feel like that's a pretty fair evaluation. We did get a motivation boost, and here we go. Contract decision incoming. Our offer to Brian Abreu for 3 years, $9 million is going to be signed, I think. Yes, shiver me timbers. Brian Abreu, high-level reliever, 83 overall, and he immediately becomes the best in the bullpen as far as overall ratings go. Now, because we've locked up a reliever, I do want to go after a bat, and I do really think that Jock Peterson is going to give us what I'm looking for. I'm going to offer him a 2-year, $8 million deal. 77% motivation, I feel like we've got a good shot. The Yankees will sign Alec Boehm to a 6-year deal, and contract decision incoming for Peterson, and yes, he has agreed. So, a 76 overall, high-powered Jock Peterson will be taking over the DH role. We also have trade suggestions here, and it's time to bite the bullet and make a decision. We had a back-and-forth thought of whether it's got to be Spencer Horwitz or Luis Arraez that we're sticking with, and I think it's going to be Luis Arraez. That means we're trading Spencer Horwitz. Bennett Hanks as a reliever is promising, and then they're also packaging Jason Villafuerte, who's got B potential, 19 years old, but he's only 46 overall, so there's really nothing going there. Hanks is the real steal, I think, in this deal. And so, kind of unceremoniously, we're going to get rid of Spencer Horwitz. Evan Carter has also come off the injured list and will be returning for this season in year 3. He was a big blow when we saw that he got injured. But he is back in the lineup now, and this is how it looks. I've got Arraez leading off, Reynolds, Peterson as the DH, Sawinski, Cruz, Bart, Carter, Triolo, and Schumann. I do want to see more out of Carter because we weren't very successful with him when he was healthy and playing. So Carter's going to be something to watch for sure. I definitely feel like his potential is there. The game certainly believes in him, but his actual performance on field just has not been that great. And yes, we are getting the notice here that Rasmussen is going to be removed from the board. That is fine. We've signed off of the trade. We've got 2 high-level relievers, one of them a prospect, though. The Brewers acquire Helsley. Wow. And it's time for the draft lottery to figure where we end up. And because we challenged for the World Series, us and the Orioles and several others from the postseason will not be improving in our draft picks today. So, suffering from success, we remain at 29. And kind of incredibly, nobody else moved except for the White Sox and Rockies. They swapped at the 1 and 2 spot. Everyone else stayed the same. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but I feel like statistically, that's an absolute anomaly. Now, Luis Arraez leading off, I do feel like we're going to have to make a decision at some point for him because he cannot flail forever. And because we're going into spring training, we have the option to change out some of these guys, which I will do. The lineup I spoke of earlier is going to be what I'm looking for unless spring training proves to be a real success for some of these guys. So I do want to see some of the newbies in spring training, and we will get to some of these games today, beginning with a lead-off starting rotation of Paul Skeens versus Kyle Bradish. Now, Kyle Bradish and the Orioles, we are obviously very familiar with. We got well acquainted in that World Series battle where they got the best of us through 7 games. So we'll have to see if we can make any kind of adjustments, what the offseason held for both teams about to be determined, and hopefully we've improved enough to get a leg up here on the Orioles. Luis Arraez leading off once again, and he will take a shot right on the hip or upper thigh. Not quite sure, but that's a leadoff base runner the hard way. And Brian Reynolds batting second. And that's a perfect hit. He finds the gap in left center field, and Reynolds starts this thing off with some fireworks. It's bobbled out there in center, which will cause Luis Arraez to go home. And Reynolds has an RBI double to begin the game before there is even an out. And now our new DH, Jock Peterson, in the game today for the first time in the Pirates uniform. I'm excited at the prospect of a guy with a lot of power. His stats do not look as promising, but I feel like that is just a veneer or a veil, if you will, an illusion. I do think that Jock Peterson's power is going to work for us. It's a 92 power, 86 clutch rating. And there, on the very first contact made in a Pirates uniform, it is nearly a 2-run home run to right field. We should be seeing a lot of that. Jack Sawinski now, who I have chosen to remain out in the field. He is going to be another one to really keep an eye on, and he cracks that one well to right center field. That'll be an RBI, and certainly good for 2 bags as Sawinski mirrors Brian Reynolds with an RBI double. Very nice. But Sawinski is going to be one I really hope that he can sustain and keep that momentum going from the incredible offseason he had. O'Neal Cruz, a perfect hit. It goes deep to right field, and it is a Cruz missile. Wow, very quickly hopping on top of these Orioles now. Bradish completely ambushed. It is now 4-0. Wow. And an O'Neal Cruz home run here in spring training is a promising sign as well, as he did not do quite as good as I was really kind of banking on. Let's take our first look at Evan Carter now, though. And with his vision, his clutch, power, contact, I mean, it's all there. We just need him to do it. And swings like that are not going to get it done. Paul Skeens is going to take the mound after an incredible campaign in the 2026 season, and in particular the postseason. He was one of the top reasons, and that's why he got such a large contract from us. I want to build around this guy for a very long time. Tamar Johnson at second base picks up the ground ball from Westberg, and we've got our first out pretty quickly. But then Gunnar Henderson is making a good battle of it, and we've got him! Strikeout for number 2, and there is a man on first. I'm not going to be showing every single at-bat here in spring training. This is going to be just kind of a highlight. Oh, it bounces off of Skeens. Bart going to react, and we're not going to get it there in time, but Skeens taking one seemingly to the chest here in the first inning. Do not do that to my guy. Kobe Mayo now count is full, and a swing and a miss on the sweeper. Skeens will get him, and obviously he's fine. All right, Steve Seidlinker now. This is going to be a real big question mark now, because Steve playing third base, as he hits that one well, it bounces off of Gunnar, and Seidlinker has the speed to get there. So Steve Seidlinker at third base represents an incredible prospect opportunity with his high overall. All of his numbers look phenomenal right now, and that's a ball past Luis Arraez as he's nearly plunked for the second time in this game. Actually, the second time in 2 innings almost. We've already batted around. 2-2 on Arraez, though. And that's a weak grounder. Bradish can't pick it up cleanly, but he does get it back to first in time. So that's out number 2. Jock Peterson comes back to the plate now in the top of the 3rd. Bradish still on the mound in spring training. And Peterson hits that well, and it goes to right field, and it finds space in between the defenders. Peterson will slug a double to lead off the top of the 3rd. And again, another ball to right field. We're going to be seeing a lot of that from this guy, I think. Jack Sawinski back to the plate now. It's 1-2 against him, and we get that one to left field, and it does drop in. We had to hold up on second base just in case that was caught. So, 2 men on board to lead off the 3rd. Bradish might be in trouble, but he does end up getting out of it. Like I said, I'm not showing every at-bat. We skip to Skeens in the bottom of the 3rd. Westberg driving that deep to center field. Carter taking a leap, but it's over the wall. And the Orioles have clapped back for 1. Still a big lead for us now, and still something to feel good about. Buzz Westberg flexing the power a little bit and sending that one out 414 feet into center field. So Baltimore not going out with the whimper today. Now, top of the 4th, we come back to Steve Seidlinker. He got to hit his first at-bat, and here for the second one, that's a swing and a miss, and it's now 0-1, as the Orioles have brought in Framber Valdez, another guy that we are very familiar and acquainted with. And Seidlinker gets that one through into center field. Good contact. Look at his numbers. 78 contact, 75 or 76 power. Vision is up. Yeah, Seidlinker is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. I will go ahead and bring in some guys that I wanted to take a quick peek at as well, beginning with Hunter Barco. A 4-pitch mix here between fastball, slider, changeup, and he will begin against Colton Cowser. I'm interested in how some of these lefty arms are going to do, as we don't have that many of them. Reynolds will pick that up in the left field for the first out as Cowser flies out, and it's 1-2 now against Kobe Mayo. Barco delivering, and that is on the outer edge. Mayo bloops it to left field, and Reynolds will play it and hold him to a single, but that is a 1-out hit for Kobe Mayo. And it is a full count now for Ian Happ, a new Oriole, and he cracks that one. It's going to go deep to left field, and that is a 2-run shot. And all of a sudden, the Orioles are scaring us with a comeback. 4-3 this ball game now as we seek dominance in our first meetup since the World Series loss. And can we add something with Jock Peterson? They brought in Chase McDermott on the mound. And Peterson, no, it does not get through the center, as Gunnar was shifted over towards second base, and Peterson is robbed of a hit. I will bring in now Braxton Ashcraft, another 4-pitch mix, fastball, slider, curveball, circle change. I'm interested to see how some of these young guys do, and spring training is really the only peak that we can have before calling a guy up. And he hits that to Sidelinker, who is at third, and 94 speed's not going to get there. Jackson Holliday is out. All right, full count now to Jordan Westberg, who homered last at-bat. And that's a swing and a miss. The four-seam fastball, the bottom of the zone, will burn by him. And Ashcraft is done. We will now bring in Max Meyer. And he really struggled in the 26 season for the short time he was there. We acquired him and sent him promptly down to the minors, where he did just kind of the same. So really hoping for a turnaround year for Max Meyer. I don't want to leave him floundering in AAA. You know, I don't feel like that would be a successful trade. I need him to work out. But so far, he's not been doing it for us. We'll see if this is his year. Gets a pop out, and then Kauser lifts that to center field for Carter. Another big change that I've done also, by the way, is that O'Neal Cruz is at shortstop right now. This is my temporary solution to keeping Sawinski in the field, putting Peterson as DH, Evan Carter's return, and Brian Reynolds out in the field. There's a lot of pieces moving and a lot of things to figure out and play Tetris with. So the best that I could do to make sure that we kept guys active where I wanted to was to move O'Neal Cruz. No, he did not go. Sidelinker did not go for that pitch. Get out of here. I'm going to do the replay. All right, so here it is. They're going to call this not a checked swing. Look where the bat goes. Look at the angle of the bat. I'm going to find the furthest point that it approaches before stopping. Yeah, it's right there. That is the furthest the bat goes, facing directly backwards. I will move the camera even. That is not a checked swing according to these umpires. Get out of here. Get absolutely out of here. The only place that he could hit that would be on the hands. Ridiculous. Anyways, what I'm saying is that with Cruz at shortstop and Sidelinker at third, this could be a peek at how the regular season plays out. As Montgomery and Schumann... No way! Luis Arraez flexing that postseason newfound power. And here in spring training, he will get a 406-foot blast. Wow. A cannonball going off for Luis Arraez. That's very nice. But anyway, Schumann and Montgomery both were letdowns on offense. They were great defensively, and they really were instrumental in keeping that infield locked down. But it's a real problem when two of your guys in the lineup are consistently underperforming. And you pair that with Luis Arraez, and now we've got a real problem. So a temporary solution right now in spring training to get a look at these guys, but I like the idea of Sidelinker at third and O'Neal Cruz at shortstop. Big swing and a miss from Sawinski, and that'll end the top of the seventh, and we will bring in Thomas Harrington. This is another very high-level prospect that we left down in the minor leagues. Between him and Bubba Chandler, it was kind of a two-horse race on who was going to reach the show first, and neither one ended up doing it last year. We left them down in the minors to develop more, and I think that Bader and Chandler both are going to make a statement this year one way or another. And that is cracked to right field by Rutschman, and that is two base runners quickly in the bottom of the seventh against Thomas Harrington. Not looking good so far, but a pop-up to left field from Nolan Jones gives us our very first non-productive out. Harrington now only a double play away from getting out of this self-inflicted jam. Jackson Holliday now, and that is grounded to Cruz. We will try to turn two to Gonzalez, back to first, and no! Jackson Holliday is just a little too quick to turn that double play, and now there's men on the corners of the diamond. Lineup turns over, and it's Michael Ciani swinging and missing, and that will end the seventh. Harrington gets out of it. Top of the eighth now for O'Neal Cruz, who is 1 for 3 so far today, and that's a miss from Ken Waldachuk. It's a name that I haven't seen in quite some time, but the Orioles must have gotten him over the offseason. Waldachuk, a credentialed pitcher for a very long time, and that is a line drive from Cruz into left field. So an early hit on Waldachuk now, and Joey Bart steps to the plate. He's 0 for 3 today, but we'll send Cruz to try to take second. That's a called ball, and Cruz is there. Threatening with that speed one more time. I love doing that throughout the regular season. We got away from it in the postseason as the runners were very hard to come by, and I did not want to chance it. Swing and a miss, or rather swing and foul tip on that slurve. It's 2-1 though, and we got some pitches to play with, so why don't we try stealing one more time? Well, before we do that, Waldachuk was kind of telepathic there and read my mind. All right, let's go ahead and send Cruz now. On his way to third, O'Neal Cruz, we let the pitch come through, and we've got it. Cruz has snagged 2 bags in a row to put himself over on third base. Still nobody out, but it's a full count now to Joey Bart. Infield is playing a little bit in, and that is a miss inside on the sweeping curve. Men on the corners as Waldachuk is really having some trouble now. Evan Carter with the full count. Swing and a miss on the four-seam fastball, and that is a wasted opportunity. Now Nick Gonzalez in the game. It's 1-1 against him. Waldachuk delivering, and that one is driven. It goes through into right field past the diving first baseman. And Gonzalez has an RBI single, and we go up 6-3. And this was a weird one, but I wanted to show it. I could not transfer these these files to my USB. Actually, the first one did. All the footage we've been watching, I was able to transfer, but all the footage from here on out, I had to record on my PC from watching the media file in remote play. Super weird, but here it is. There was also a glitch on the audio for this, and so I actually had to remove it. So this is going to be a little strange and a little bit of intimate ASMR for you guys, but it's going to be just my voice here for the final moments of the video. Steve Seidlinker finally gets a really good pitch from Waldachuk, and he's able to bring that over the right field wall. And yeah, this is so weird without the audio as I'm watching this clip. So real apologies for this, but I have a lot of issues with trying to remote play anything, it seems. We'll go ahead and bring Bubba Chandler in, but just to talk about the technical aspects of it, here's my setup here. So if anyone has any suggestions to that, please let me know. But currently what I do on my PS5 Pro is I just hit the record function. I record this footage. Typically what I will do is transfer these files from the PS5 onto a USB drive and then grab that drive, put it into my PC, extract the file, and then edit that file. So that's my typical process, and that's what all the videos have included me doing. And then here, what I had to do, like I said, is the file kept giving me an error at like 43% or something like that, and there was no way for me to get around it. And so what I had to do instead was get on my PC, bring up Remote Play, and then on Remote Play, go to my media gallery in the PlayStation, and play the file and just record this on my PC screen using OBS. So it's very convoluted, and I would love to find a better solution. But unfortunately, this is just how this particular problem worked for me, and I don't know why there was no audio either. I had it recording, I had the bars and the levels on there, but it's not on there. So just some technical issues. Really appreciate you guys understanding, and hopefully this isn't too weird for you just to listen to straight up an audio track of my voice. Now it's 9-3 though, as I've talked over a few of the developments, and here towards the end of the video, Jock Peterson is going to power to the right. No, it is just barely foul. 7 feet outside the pole. I actually couldn't even track that one with my eye, but Jock Peterson has already proven to me that that power is there. 1-1 against Dylan Floro, and he'll get that one. Another one deep to right field. It's going back, and it is gone off the scoreboard. 415 feet, as with only my sound of just my voice, I'm going to not yell and blow your guys' speakers out. So 415 feet. I am very excited for that, but I'm going to hold back here on recording this voiceover. Jock Peterson as the DH, I think, is going to bring a lot more power than what his last played stats would indicate. He's got a lot of power, and I think that vision, power, clutch, everything, it's going to be a good DH situation. We will bring in Brian Abreu, the new reliever that we got, to test him out here in the bottom of the ninth in a 10-3 ball game. And Cruz plays that from shortstop over to right. So Kobe Mayo is out. And now Harrison Bader as the final batter. 2-2, and Reynolds running for that on the foul line, and he just barely gets it. And Bader was not the final batter. That's my bad. Adley Rutschman, 0-2 as the final out of the game, and Abreu gets him to swing and miss. That's a Pirates win, and a little bit of revenge ball played against the Orioles here in Game 1 of spring training. Very nice. Final line shows Cruz going 3 for 5, Sawinski and Peterson 2 for 5. 3 for 4 on the day for Steve Seidlinker as he starts his Orioles spring training with a 750 average. That's awesome. We got 10 RBIs all told, 8 strikeouts, 3 of them going to Carter. And O'Neal Cruz actually ended up stealing 3 bases. Home runs from Arise, Peterson, Cruz, and Seidlinger. Lots of pitchers today. Hunter Barco allowed 2. Paul Skeens allowed 1. Everyone else was pretty good. Bubba Chandler getting 2 strikeouts in his innings pitched, which is really nice. And Abreu had a successful first inning as well. So a big rebound 10-3 victory in spring training game 1. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully the audio problems will not persist, but I appreciate it. See you next time.